Welcome to the record player. They say don't be sad that it's over, be glad that it happened. And I'm trying so hard to do that. But just over a week from now, one of this country's best bands, USS, also known by their formal dress up name, Ubiquitous Synergy Seeker, will be calling it a day with the final show of their amazing 20-year run. After 3 albums, 3 EPs, awards, accolades, and a massively dedicated fan base, I can't help but be sad about it. But I'm very happy to welcome the Human Kabab himself from USS, Mr. Jason Parsons. How are you, Jason?
I'm great, and thank you for that very complimentary introduction. I really appreciate
it. Deserved. I think I speak for the entire USS fan base when I say, why the hell are you doing this to us?
Well, yeah, we've been asked a lot because we made the formal announcement in the fall of 2020, which for a lot of people around the world, it was a sad and dark time. So, when not even when COVID hit, I mean, when you've been in a band for, 15 years and we've been around the world and we went down to America a few times, we've crisscrossed Canada 20 or so times in the freezing cold, automobiles breaking down, putting out records, doing all the press. And I think that Ashley and I just decided that we took it as far as we could take it. And that's not to say that him and I, won't continue like a budding future musical relationship. It's just, I think with bands, it's such a huge commitment in your life for so long. And I've explained this in the past when we announced that we were going our separate ways, is that you don't realize how much of your time is being dedicated to one thing. And I mean, I'm into I DJ, I voice act. I have like a plethora of things that I'm into outside of USS that also goes hand in hand with the band. But USS has been my full-time commitment since 2007. And that's been through working odd jobs. Ash and I roofed together on our first EP while he made it in his Pontiac Sunfire while I drove us at 6 a.m. And I worked in the oil fields in Alberta for 2 winters while I was in this band. And my entire focus has been on this one thing for so long. And Ash as well, and
you guys were a lot younger too then. I mean, you didn't have the confidence that you have now, right? So.
That's right. And like Ash himself, like he's the type of artist where he makes music and he creates parts and he sings songs when he's feeling it. Yeah. He's not necessarily the type of artist that could just be on all the time like me. And that's why I think that we are the ultimate yin yang, because we fill in the gaps for each other where we need to be our strongest to be USS. And I think that in Ash's case, he can be a very humble, like inward looking person. Like he's always on the move doing his own thing. And I think for him too, this might be like a welcome change for a while.
You guys met at a golf course. I mean, you probably didn't think, working together, you said roofing and all that. You probably didn't think then 20 years later, you'd even be in this position where you'd be, this has become your life.
Yeah, I still, it's so interesting. I was actually talking about this yesterday, that when I met Ash, when I went back to my old golf course job, and he actually had just started there, he was going there to learn how to socialize again. I was going there because I graduated university and they're like, tough luck, kid. Can't get a good corporate job unless you have experience. So then my old executive chef Donovan Campbell, who ran the back of the house, was like, hey, heard you're looking for a job, come back and do inventory control, we'll take care of you, you just do it for the summer, we really need you. Went back, and it's funny because I was so apprehensive because I'm a Gemini and I always like to go forward.
Yeah,
so I was like, oh, I just had the best time at university, now I have to go back to the golf course. But when I was stocking a beer fridge with a mutual friend one day, a bartender, Ash happened to be walking past and he knew the bartender. They went to high school together. And he's like, hey, you're that DJ guy. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, oh, you want to come to my cottage? My sister has a wedding on Labor Day. We need a DJ, but come hang out first. And literally handed him a case of Labatt 50. I'm like, wow, my life's about to change for the next 20 years.
Amazing story. My introduction to USS was probably like a lot of others through 102.1 The Edge. You guys have had you found a home at that radio station. I mean, you kind of had a relationship with them for many, many years. Back then, at that time, that was probably the only alternative. Well, it was the only alternative music radio station in Ontario. Um, you guys being such a kind of an eclectic band with a different sound than what's going to get played on like mainstream radio at that time. Uh, was it difficult for a band like you guys to sort of gain traction and get things going back then because of that, not having the avenues that a pop band or a boy band would have?
Well, I think that back in the 2008, 2007 era, the MySpace era of music, if you will, worldwide. Ash and I, when we first moved downtown Toronto in 2005, it was literally because we thought we had to be close to the action if we wanted to get in.
Right.
And so we would pound the pavement on Queen Street West. And, you go to the Horseshoe or the Rivoli, even on like a Tuesday night for Dave Bookman's, RIP, Dave Bookman's new music night, Lee's Palace, Revival, Mod Club, anywhere along even just Queen West. And you don't know, you would know who you were going to run into at nighttime during another band showcase or whatnot. And back then, like, bands actually had to put in the work. Like, they had to fight for opening slots, and they were meaningful, and you never knew who was going to be in the room. And you always had to have a CD on you because, like, even jump drives weren't a thing back then. It was still like, give me a copy of your record. And so hanging out in those clubs back then, we had this CD at the end of 2007, and we already knew Barry Taylor at the Edge because in the fall of 07, when Ash and I were roofing, I actually did a Steam Whistle Indie Club rap show at the Edge's studios as Human Kabab. And our then manager was at a Christmas party with Barry Taylor because he was on the punk rock scene. And he said, "What have you been up to?" And he said, "I'm working with these two guys. It's a singer-songwriter and a DJ, Ash and Human Kabab." And Barry said, "Oh, I know Human Kabab. He put on a rap show at my Steam Whistle Indie Club." And then he gave him the CD, and he went home at Christmas time and listened to it. And like, we had it like professionally designed, packaged. Ash came up with most of the artwork. Like, we were ready to roll. And I think Barry saw that. And when he listened to the record and he had the holidays to consume it, by the time January 2008 rolled around, he brought it into music meetings at the Edge in front of Alan Cross and Martin Streak. And back then, you could give a CD to a radio personality and they might play it themselves, or it might go all the way up the ladder. And Alan Cross said, "Thumbs up, let's go. Let's make them our band." And the rest, as they say, is history.
The first time I saw you guys live was, I think, Edgefest 2014. I think it was Said the Whale, Deer Rouge, a couple of other bands that escape me at the moment, but it was a fantastic show. Was there an event or a show or something that sticks out in your mind that was that moment that, we've made it, we're here, and we have the fan base now, this is real?
I think I'm so glad you brought up that, because that was Edgefest show number 2, I believe. Yeah. That's our biggest headliner ever in our entire career. Like, in terms of like tickets sold, fans in attendance, 2 stages. We've never played Echo Beach since. And I would say that was one of the peaks of the madness around the USS world. And it definitely felt like we made it, because not only was it humbling to have the sun setting and the CN Tower behind us and all these amazing bands from all over North America performing and sharing the stage with us, but at the time we had an American label chasing us, and they actually flew in for it. And our new team, our new booking agency was there. Everybody was there. Our management came on stage and presented us with our first gold record.
Yep.
It's like we couldn't do anything wrong. Like, it was the most perfect time to be in our band. And yeah, we'll always cherish those moments.
Do you have a favorite, like, what's your favorite part of this whole making music thing? Are you the guy that enjoys the writing process? Do you enjoy the recording, being in there and creating it? Or is it being on stage in front of the fan?
I mean, I won't speak for all musicians, but definitely live. Live performances are like the heartbeat of the operation, if you will. And it's where you feel most closely connected to the fans. Or, even when you play a festival and there's a whole bunch of strangers who are waiting for the headliner, it's your chance to play show and tell and like hopefully retain them or pique their interest. And it's just like recording and writing. In the beginning, it's exciting because you're actually doing something that you're paid money for and you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So everything you do in the studio is exciting. But once it gets out there and you see what's translating, then you play this like game of do we lean more into what got us the initial attention? Do we try to go bigger? And then simultaneously, you're playing shows, so you're testing out the material and you're seeing how it resonates with fans or how it's helping you perform. And then, now you're kind of like, okay, now we got to go back in the studio. Now you're in love with the studio again because you're forging a new path forward for the next record you're going to put out, the next single.
The new album, the latest album, Einsteins of Consciousness, is fantastic. You mentioned that you had announced that the band was going to be ending, that you were going to be done before the album even came out. COVID has kind of made this ending longer than like a farewell tour by the Who, but I mean it's now that you're there, has it been a different, and you've been on the road for a while and doing this with this new album, has it been a different feeling on the tour? Is it different being on stage this time around, knowing that that it is coming to an end?
Yeah, like November, December of last year, when we started this initial run of 14 shows, we were so happy that we actually got to start playing again, because it's interesting because bands started coming back in Canada about halfway through the summer of 2021. And then into the fall, all kinds of festivals and indoor shows were starting to happen. We got to actually start in Edmonton on Labor Day weekend of last year. And that was our first reunion in 2 years. And it felt good because we were just happy that the three of us could get together and pull off a killer live show in front of a few thousand people during COVID. It was our first flights during COVID. Just to see people's enthusiasm, it just brought us right back to 2019. And fast forward 2 months later, when we actually went out on the Final Frequency tour, there was this like severe emotional roller coaster that the three of us went through simultaneously at different points throughout the run. And you could see it with the fans. Like we saw a lot of people weeping in the front row. And yeah, and you know what though? It wasn't just that, like, cause like Ash and I tried to go into it treating it as like a celebration of life as opposed to the death of something. And that's the energy we put out every night. So we tried to still make it fun, even though it was hitting us all in different waves. But I will say that the looming dark force of the pandemic was always around. Like some of the shows we played, they'd be sold out, but 400 people wouldn't show up.
Wow.
They just didn't show up. They didn't claim their tickets, which thank you to those fans. But they last minute, and as we went across Canada, the news cycle just kept getting worse and worse about variants and Omicron and all this. And so now it's like, okay, first of all, you got to play these shows. Second of all, it's a Canadian winter. Third of all, it's the end. Fourth of all, people may or may not show up because any one of us could get sick, test positive, and the whole tour is over. So it was actually like so much fun and incredibly stressful. So when Live Nation called us about History back in December, the two final Toronto shows, they said, hey, why don't we go to next year? We'll go to the summer. Everyone will be feeling better. And we were like, thank you, rock and roll gods. Because we just had a feeling everything would be okay. And, knock on wood, fingers crossed, everything is still good.
So far, it is. I think, well, hopefully we don't have to worry about canceling shows or anything like that again. That's for sure. You've got a few shows left at the El Macombo, I believe, next week. And then back to Edmonton. I see the Oilers hat. I'm a Canucks.
Yeah.
Are you an Oilers fan or
yeah, absolutely.
Always have been?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably more so in the last like 10 or 15 years. Like I grew up a Leafs fan forever, but it's just a sad, tragic story for that team and its fan base. And I don't know, when I started going out to Edmonton to work and I spent more and more time in Alberta, like living there. And then, our band took off. Like we just have this special connection with Edmonton. And so Ash was an Oilers fan in the 80s, like Gretzky, Messier, Curry era. And I mean, I kind of was, but later in life, I was just like, okay, let's go.
I'm a Canucks fan, so I'm anti-Edmonton and Calgary. But that's like I said, you have a few shows left at the El Macombo, then to Edmonton, then to Ottawa, and then the final show at History on the June 11th. I don't expect you to spill anything, but any surprises? Can we expect anything different maybe on this last show?
Well, we're definitely going to switch up ideas and set orders and whatnot, and we've kind of rolled into these last few shows we've added as like special moments where there's no pressure anymore, so we can let it all hang out. Like even like last weekend we played Buffalo, and Ash was just so loosey goosey about everything, and he was telling funny stories, and we gave them some like unique moments in Buffalo that we've never done anywhere. And I think more of that's going to happen. We're going to vibe off the audience and see where we can take them. I mean, we have like a smorgasbord of songs that we can play, but for us, it's more about creating moments. And I think that as the shows go on, we'll find different ways to switch them all around, so not everything's the same.
Great. We have people in our group that are huge USS fans that are quite upset, but I know they're going to be there on that night. What's next for you? Like once this is done, what's next for Jason Parsons? What are you into? I know you've got a project going with Adam from 3 Days Grace.
Yep.
What's that about? When are you? Is that recording? Is it going on tour? What's going on there?
So we met earlier in the pandemic over Zoom, and we hit it off immediately in a songwriting session with the gentleman that helped Ash and I go very far, Tom Salter, who produced and recorded and co-wrote 3 of our biggest records. Anyways, we hit it off, and we did the remote thing for almost 2 years of just sending ideas back and forth. And it's been interesting because we didn't meet until this past winter in person due to COVID reasons. But he's back busy with his band Saint Asonia. I'm busy with USS. We're just gonna see how things play out organically. And I mean, we're just making cool music that we both love. And one day, I think, hopefully before 2022 is over, we'll actually get to sit down and discuss and decide what we want to do, how we want it to come out, and just take it easy. Like he's been through the ringer even more so than I have in his career. Being in multiple, like leaving his band, starting a new one, touring, being in America most of the time. I mean, for me, I've mostly been in Canada and then Europe and Japan to a lesser extent. But it's interesting meeting someone who is around my age, who has been around the musical block a little more so than Ash and I have, and just seeing what happens. Like, we both experienced so much, and we're both very excited, but we definitely need to commit the time when it's right for the two of us.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because when I heard about the collaboration between the two of you, I was like, wow, to me, that's going to be amazing. When the tour is done and you have time to decompress and sit down and think about the last 20 years, what do you think is going to be the thing that you'll remember the most from this whole journey that you guys have been on?
That not only did we got played on the radio, but these two guys from York Region, Ontario, Canada, met and just believed in each other so much that, like, Ash and I's excitement to be around each other and to perform and to make music and to be ourselves became like the perfect marriage and the perfect storm to bring us to the stages of Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, Berlin, Tokyo. Like, it's just amazing. Like, when you put your mind to something, what can transpire if you believe in it. If you believe, like, artists have to have an insane level of self-belief to do the unthinkable. And I think that's truly what will matter the most to me forever. And like, I've already been rehashing memories with Ash and with our drummer, Matt Murphy, and like Liam on our management team, and just some fans. Like, I can't believe that people will sit outside for hours and wait for these two schmucks from Southern Ontario to come on stage and just be crazy for an hour and a half and like, just like, let it all out, leave it all on stage. And the tattoos, like our tattoo gallery is at like almost 200 now, I think, when I uploaded 2 last week. Like, people actually like believe in what Ash and I have done so much that they will get our lyrics tattooed to them, or our likeness or our imagery just because they believe in us. And it's like, we had that forever. So if like the power went out, the world as we know it was coming to an end, and like our bank accounts were emptied out, everything's gone. It's Walking Dead. It's like, we did it. We did it.
There's still USS somewhere on someone. Like I said off the top, it's going to be sad to see it end. From us here at TRP, I mean, we thank you for 20 years of phenomenal music that I'll be listening to 20 years from now. I'm sure everyone else will be as well. God willing that I'm still here 20 years from now. Best of luck on this last stretch. We'll see you guys on the 11th at History. Good luck with the show. And thank you so much for being with us today on The Record Player.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Much appreciated. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too.